Welcome everybody to this Lunch and Learn event about the topic, the entrepreneurial mindset in uncertain times. I'm very happy that we have more than 50 people in here joining this event. The event is brought to you by Startup Campus, which is a consortium that's co-led from Mijthab Zurich and the ZHdK, the School of Management and Law. I'm from the Mijthab Zurich side, and I will introduce you to this event, and in the end also tell you a little bit about what we do as Startup Campus and what we can offer you if you want to build a venture. But first, we go to the core topic of the event. We have two wonderful women here. On the one hand, we have Eva Pauline Bossow. She's an expert on the effectuation theory, which actually tells you about that entrepreneurial mindset, and it's something that can be learned. It's not something that you are born with. So we will hear more from her, and then she will also interview Mona Mijthab, who's the founder of Mozan, and then we will hear how she as a founder actually uses these kind of principles in her daily life. And without any further ado, I want to give the word directly to Eva, who will start presenting about the effectuation theory.
Thank you very much, Eliane. Yeah, and hello, everybody. Really great to meet you all. I mean, at least meet virtually. I'm working at the ZHdK for a research center, so that you get me know a little bit better. For a research center, it's called Zurich Centre for Creative Economies, which is just like a research and excellence center at this university. And besides that, I'm coach and lecturer for entrepreneurs as well in the startup campus, for example, and for example, also at the Creative Switzerland. And my background is really from the communication, economics, and innovation side. And I always worked in this triangle of art, culture, innovation, and entrepreneurship. And that's where I got along with this great method, mindset, or theory, the effectuation, which is in the middle of our course tonight, or today, not tonight. For you, Mona, it's quite tonight. We will hear that later. So yeah, let's start right away. Maybe shortly for the program, I will give you an introduction in this theory of effectuation, or I would say like 25 minutes. And then we will start with Mona discussing her perspective on this theory and how she could match it actually with her entrepreneurial life set. And then I would like to hand over to you, to the audience, and give you a certain kind of practice using a principle of the effectuation theory, so that you can get a bit closer to it, and that you can really find out also if this is something you would like to dive deeper into it, and if this could be something that is very helpful in the stage where you are now. So let's start. So I'm always starting this session with a little question to bring you on board. Imagine you got a call in the morning from one of your best friends, and he or she announces that herself or himself in the morning that he or she would like to come for dinner for tonight. So bring yourself into the position or situation. How is normally your reaction? Would you think about what you would like to cook and will quickly go shopping? Or would you look what's left in the fridge and make something out of it? Eliane just prepared a little survey here. So I like to ask you to just invite you to answer that question.
We already have some first results. I wait a few seconds more to everybody fill in. Okay, so I think we have a clear 2/3 to 1/3. Quickly show you the results. There we go.
Okay, thank you. Very good. And then we will come to the second question. When you think about who you are today, what makes you you? What do you think? Are you more the result of circumstances or coincidences, interesting opportunities along the way? Or are you the result of goals you set for yourself at some point and which you achieved?
A middle way would be also good.
Sorry?
Something in the middle would be also a good answer.
Normally, Martina, I'm actually doing that when we have analog sessions, and I'm doing that. Now I'm forcing you actually to decide, but it's clear, and they're quite the opposite, and there's something in between as well.
Great. So we have almost everybody who took part at the survey, and these are the results. It's quite 50-50.
50-50, yeah. Okay. Great. Thank you very much. Keep these, I would say, questions in mind when we go through the effectuation theory, because I'm sure you will realize why that could be, or what can make a difference, and maybe how you can maybe shift. So talking about entrepreneurial thinking, often I mean, all of you are somehow familiar with the entrepreneurial world and want to step into it or are already active into it. So entrepreneurial thinking is something you're maybe kind of aware, but a lot of people still have, I would say, like the wrong feeling or a certain bias when they think about how could entrepreneurial thinking really happens and what makes a good entrepreneur. To make it on point, this is something which came just together. So entrepreneurial thinking in this case really means it's about an individual who has a certain idea, which comes together with a coincidence. And this person realized that with an entrepreneurial behavior or mindset on it, he or she can make something out of it. And often it's not only one idea, but there are several ideas. Why am I pointing that out? There are some myths actually that are existing about entrepreneurs, especially when we're talking about like this big entrepreneurs everybody has in mind, looking into the Silicon Valley and thinking about these are often people who are just like standing under a shower and have one idea. They have enough resources to just like execute their idea. They have a network of people they can just like contact secretly and work on an idea kind of in a lab. And when they are ready with the idea, then they will come out of the lab and out of the box and just like execute their idea and bring it to the market and just like do it in a very straight, linear and successful way. Entrepreneurial thinking here shows you that it's not meant like that. Entrepreneurial thinking is more about the individual itself, the idea and the coincidence, and the realization that there is something which you can do about it. So entrepreneurial thinking is here more really meant in a sort of a creative and as a creative and formative act to bring something new and valuable to the world, and to bring yourself in an active and self-responsible position, and to do it in a way not only how to say in the means of economic KPIs, because there are much more aspects if you just like want to execute a certain project. So it's more about having an idea and trying to find a way to execute the idea, come further with it. So it's really about creation, and this is where effectuation really set up. It's a method which has been described coming from cognitive science from Sarah Saravati, who asked herself what makes expert entrepreneurs so successful by looking at how they making decisions, how they think, and how they act. And so the result was effectuation, but what she actually did was not, she didn't invented something. She just really looked closely on the expert entrepreneurs and tried to find out and describe what they are doing. So what she was observing, how these expert entrepreneurs act. And so the effectuation method or effectuation theory or effectuation mindset is something, is a logic with empirical evidence. It's not only, you can only use it for entrepreneurial questions, but also you can use it for several kinds of problems. For example, the one I was asking you right at the beginning about the friend coming who would just like invited him herself for dinner. And it's kind of the opposite of causal or managerial thinking. It's an effort, a method that assumes that the future cannot be planned or predicted. And I think we all realized in the last 18 months that the future is really not predictable and unsure and uncertain. So it's quite worthy to look at effectuation. And what is so great about it, that effectuation includes 4 principles, 1 process, and this is learnable, observable, and teachable. So you can learn it from yourself. You don't have to be born to be an entrepreneur. This is just another very effective method. You can learn by observing yourself and others. And it's like I'm trying to do to you today, it's a teachable method. And what I like about it very much, and I will just like to try to resume, and I hope you come to the same conclusion at the end. I find it quite inspiring and motivating because it really focuses on you and it gives you the empowerment to do things. So let's start. We will just make it quite, I'm presenting you the 4 principles and the process. And it's the easiest way to describe it is by just like putting this managerial thinking you are all very aware of and used to, because we live in a world where the causal or managerial thinking is quite common, and often the way how we do strategies, for example. And the opposite is, as I said, effectuation. And so to really understand this method, I'm just like putting them as opposites. But it doesn't mean, just let me say it right from the start, it doesn't mean that one is better than the other. You just use effectuation in another situation than the managerial thinking. And the first principle is called means, or bird and hand. When we're looking at the managerial thinking process, you always start with a predetermined goal, and you think about, okay, what kind of means do I need? What resources do I need to actually come into that goal, right? To really achieve the goal. So the goal is fixed, and you just try to find the means to bring it to achieve the goal. On the opposite, effectuation starts with what are actually my resources? And not only meaning resources by what kind of money or infrastructure or like kind of the hard facts. It really means, what is your competence, your skill set? What do you have in your pocket or in your backpack, which can lead to the achievement of different goals? Because when you start, act as an entrepreneur, you may be not aware of what is actually the goal you want to achieve. You probably have a direction, or you want to achieve something in a certain universe, but what the actual goal would be is not quite certain. So that's why effectuation always starts in the moment where you're not sure about what you actually want to achieve, because you cannot say what the goal will be then. So you start with the means you actually have, and with this set of means, you just like collect around yourself and make it clear for yourself that you then set up different kinds of goals. So it's the means are here. On one hand, who I am, so my traits, my tastes, my abilities. So really my personality and what I would like to achieve and to do in my life. The second thing is, what do I know? So what is actually my competence and skill set? What is my education? In which field do I have a certain expertise? Where I got a training? What are my experiences in different fields? And the third thing is who I know. So my social and professional network. Because looking at this from this broader perspective already shows you that you have a setup of means, and these can lead to different goals and their achievements. So on one hand, it's really your personality, you as a person with skills, competences. The second one is your network, the people around you, which can help you. And then also the infrastructure you already have, for example, or which you can just like you can use for certain goals. That can be a car, that can be rooms, that can of course also be money, but it just like empowers yourself to just like be aware what are your means. And an example here as this very famous Rubik cube from Erno Rubek. He was a professor in the late 70s, early 80s, and he just like invented this cube and to just like teach his students how to just like imagine space and to just like create a certain awareness for 3D rooms. And he created this cube. And after he created this cube, he realized that it is more than what his students could use for the university settings. It can be also a tool for a lot of other people here. So he had developed a certain thing and tried out how we can just like use it in different other cases, in other setups, and that's how this very famous story of the Rubik cubic started, not with a determined goal that he wants to just like encounter the market with another gadget. So he started right from another point and just thought about coincidence and idea, what he can make out of it, and also use his network and the position he had as a professor. The second thing is the affordable loss. So the second principle is the affordable loss. Looking at the managerial thinking, which we start now, is always that you try to maximize your return by selecting the optimal strategy for your target. So what you really have in mind is, as I said, the target and the revenue you want to achieve. This is maybe something when you're not sure about a certain idea and how to start with, something difficult to just like already imagine. So with effectuation, you start the other way around. You think about what is your downside, what kind of downside could you have, try to estimate it and try to examine what you are willing to lose. So this could be, for example, money, time, reputation. It depends from what you were doing, but just like you think about your affordable loss. And a good example here is Pierre Mijthab, the founder of eBay. He was actually working for Google in the US, and he wasn't very happy there. And he was thinking of what he could actually do. He wanted to be an entrepreneur, but at the same time, he had a family and he had a wife and children, and he was the only one who was bringing money to the family. So he was very aware of responsibility. He couldn't just like skip his job and try something out. So, but what he said he could do is he could just like spend 2 hours at night in the evening when the children are in bed with working on a certain idea. And then he thought, you know, when this is not resulting into something valuable or something new that I could use for a new job, then I've just lost these 2 hours at night. I should watch a movie or I spend time with my wife, I don't know. But that's how he started actually eBay. And as we all know, it's a quite successful story. What is interesting here is that he said, if an investor had approached him and said, you know, oh, I'm really trusting you, Pierre, you will do something great if I'm giving you $1 million, then he would never ever come to the idea of eBay, because this was actually really born in this limited time in the evenings, the affordable loss. The third principle is called coincidences and lemonade. When we maybe we start with here also again with the managerial thinking. When we have a certain goal right in front of us, and we really try to achieve that, then every surprise, everything that comes in is assumed as a danger for our achievement of a certain goal, so for our highway to our goal. It's a disturbing factor. We don't like interruptions. We don't like things that are coming in that we don't have on our plan. So this is the managerial thinking perspective. The other perspective is the effectuation perspective, and this is, as you can see here, it's again this how to say this little graph or this painting I did in the beginning. It shows that if you have a certain set of means and you also just like have different kinds of goals in your head, then these unexpected things could be used as something you can actually positively include in your process. You just like, you embrace actually these surprises, these unexpected things, and just like you are open that they guide you and bring you to somewhere else, and that's okay. You take them as a chance, and that's why why there's this lemonade reference. It's about this this spoken word where you say, just like, if you have lemons, make lemonade out of it. And I think what you have to think about here, really in an early stage for a certain decision you have to take or a route you want to go, it's how can I increase the probability of favorable coincidences, right? So there is a phase in every entrepreneurial lifestyle where you really are open for these coincidences, and effectuation leads you to how you can really use them in the best way for your project, how you could actually use them. And I think if I'm coming here, for example, I had some examples here, but then I was saying, do I really need an example? Because we all have been in the COVID crisis. We all have seen so many businesses who really try to survive, who got creative and try to make something out of this really strange situations. Of course, I'm talking about, for example, the event businesses, or of course in the medtech segments where they came up with all the masks, for example. I think we all know a lot of examples where this coincidence, this happening of the COVID crisis and everything that comes along with that, just leads to something positive, or actually to something new. This should be just like kind of the motivation. There are also a lot of stories where people just, for example, had an accident or so and get hurt, and their body was damaged. And this is, for example, one of a very famous fitness company who developed fitness tools, because the founder had a bad motorcycle accident, and he started to really recover himself, and that's how he got to his fitness company. But actually, as I said at the beginning, it's I think from the COVID crisis, we all know a lot of new businesses which came up, or companies who had to deal with it. Then the fourth principle is the talking about partners and the patchwork of partnerships. In the managerial thinking position, you actually know what kind of partners you want, you know who are the right partners, and you try to make deals with these partners, these potential partners, or your actual partners. So you have already a framework, and you know who you need, and then you will go to this person and pitch your idea and just ask exactly for the resources or the exchange you want to deal out with this person. In the effectuation side, it's more a crazy kilt, because you more look for agreements, you look for co-creators, you look for people who would like to contribute something, and not in the case of, or not in the mean of dealing something out, in the mean of you give me that and I give you that, and that's how we partner up. It's more about invite other people to contribute something to your idea, to the process you are in, and that's the point. You make them a part of your project, so they become actually really co-creators. You address them really on an eye level. It's not about the pitching process. It's really more to share your vision and to find companions on your way. And an example for that is actually when you're looking on two classical ensembles or music ensembles, then you have, for example, you have the quartet, which would be the managerial thinking part here. So you have a clear setup. Everybody knows what he or she has to do. They get their notes. They go at home. They practice the music and the And when they come together, they only say, you know, maybe we make it a little bit louder here, we make it a little bit faster here, but it's the setup is quite clear. They can only adjust things in the terms of dynamics or as I said, the tempo. When you look to a dance session from a jazz ensemble, for example, then it's more, they often only have a certain theme. So everybody knows the theme and try to invent something out of this theme with the personal and professional background he or she has. And when they come together for this moment to practice actually the concert or the earlier as well, then everybody brings something in. Everybody brings his strength in, and they will create something completely new. Nobody could be aware of at the beginning because nobody has known. They only knew that's our theme we want to play, and we will improvise and play around with that theme. And everybody does this from his or her personal, professional perspective. So these are the four principles. And when I would now just like merge them into a process, and here also do it with these two perspectives. So when you look at the process of management, then it's really quite clear, right? You start with a certain goal. You have an idea, a certain goal which you want to just like really reach and to achieve, and then you analyze what you will need for that. What kind of resources? You look at the market, for example. You look at the customer side, the location, the target group. So everything very clear. Then you decide for a certain route you would like to take. Then you plan the execution. You acquire the resources, and then you act. So it's a lot about thinking, act. That's the management process. If you're looking on the process of effectuation, it's quite different. So we start here with the course of action. This course of action could be quite different. So it could be, as I said at the beginning, it don't have to be an entrepreneurial task you want to achieve. It could also be you're looking for a new apartment, for example, or you have to do a certain decision in a company also. So there is a certain course for action. Maybe you want to change your job also. So there is something you have to move, right? And then you start with your means actually. Okay, so this is, I have to change something, I have to do something. There's a task. I'm looking on my competences, my abilities, my skill sets, the people I know, and the resources I can just like take in and bring in, or just like I have to. So you make like an analyzation of your actually your toolbox, I would say. And then in the second step, you think about, okay, what can I do now? And goals means really in that moment. So what are your goals right now? What could you do right now to just like examine a little bit more broadly what your different kinds of goals could be? So you're not deciding for one goal. You're just like you make up, or you create different goals by the Mijthab. And then you start about asking who do I actually know who could help me contribute, can be a companion in that interaction, in that achieving the certain this goal set, this goals, right? So there's a course of action, then you have certain means, and then you try to make different sets of goals and bring in other people. So it's actually analyzation, so think, and then we start coming to really to act. Then you talk to the people you know and you think could do a valuable contribution, and then you really ask them for a certain commitment. That's really important, because this co-creation really means that they don't have to the commitment or the contribution could be quite different from, I would like to work with you on this project, sounds really interesting, I would like to develop something here with you, versus I have a valuable contact. I think this person could help you out here. You have to, I will build this bridge for you. This is also a commitment. But what is really important is that you, in this moment of interactions, find out who could really actually make a contribution you can rely on. So no matter how big this contribution is, you have to be sure that the contribution is made. So this patchwork is not something fluid. It's also something strong, because these stakeholders or these partners or companions are really committed to it. And by that, by the fact that you bring on other people on board and their expertise and their backgrounds and their knowledge and their toolbox, it will probably happen that you will create new means, or I mean, you will have new means, of course, because that's what they all brought in. But what will happen is that probably they also, you will develop new goals, decide for certain goals, adapt certain goals you were thinking about. So this will always lead to the fact that there is just like, look at it as a process, or an iterative process. It will go back to actually, as I said, the means, the goals, and it will come to the fact that there probably will be something different will be created, as you maybe had in mind when you started from the start. But because you have been very open, it's totally okay for you. So this is the process of effectuation. I'm seeing there's something in the back. Oh, I see the question. Okay. And this is actually the process of effectuation, how it can be done, of course, in several circles. But what is important here is that you see it's really about action. It's, you start with a diverse or maybe also not very concrete set of goals, and then you start via the discussion and the interaction with companions, stakeholders, to find out, okay, what is actually, which route should I take? And therefore, the coincidences and the unexpected things are something you embrace. Together, again, we just like look at these two principles and two mindsets. And as I said at the beginning, it's not either or. They are just coming to different steps in the process. So when uncertainty is quite big and you're not really know in which direction you will take, maybe for example because you invented a certain technology and you don't know where it could lead you, or for whom that could be very valuable, or what kind of customer, then there's a big uncertainty, right? And that's where effectuation is really good. The more concrete you get, the more information you receive, so the more your knowledge is growing. And the more you get on a certain, you just like decide for certain goals together with your team, and just like maybe one or two twos are left. Then of course the managerial thinking approach or the managerial acting is very important, because then it's about execution, right? But effectuation is very good in situations where you just like, whoa, I don't know what to do now, because never expected that. What could I do here? And an example, for example, is there's a company in Germany. It's called Ambient, and they are a really big event firm. I mean, talking about 300 people they have in their company, and they're really doing big conferences for the political systems in Germany, but also music festivals. So not only small ones, but also really like big also company shows. For example, if Daimler is presenting a new car, then they are just like doing all these introduction to the market. So when Corona came, like every other event company, they have been just like reduced to 0 events. And what they started then was to build up the super room. If you're interested, you can just Google it. It's they built because they were thinking, okay, now we have 300 people we have to pay. So what can we do with these resources of people and their knowledge? And what they built was actually a virtual, like in a virtual event room, which is like a kind of a portable studio, but much bigger and much more elaborated. And it's quite amazing how they really were able to create virtual 3D rooms, and where you can just like drive in a certain, just like drive in a car, for example, or how they could just like, they started also to produce music videos for Katy Perry and so on. So they really made something out of this awkward situation. Now they have only the difficulties that they don't have enough VR and AR creators for their studio. But this is just an example. They were just like, they had the, like all the others too, like we all had the situation, oh my God, I don't know what to do in this situation. Our whole business is just like, yeah, set up to zero. And now what can we do with that? Where are we? And there was not a clear goal to do this super room, for example.